Tracy Braxton's final will took everyone by surprise, and not just because of its contents, but also the avalanche of family drama that followed. From shocking inheritance decisions to unresolved tensions with the Braxton sisters, the story has more unexpected twists than anyone could have imagined. You're tuned in to Buzzed Celebs at Buzzed Celebs, where we dive into the most intriguing celebrity stories you won't hear anywhere else. Strap in, because this is one Braxton family saga you truly have to hear to believe. Tracy Braxton's passing was already a heartbreak to her loved ones and fans, but when details of her last will surfaced, it set the entire internet buzzing. For years, people knew there was some lingering tension in the Braxton family, but few expected Tracy to make her son, Kevin Surratt Jr., the principal heir and representative of her legacy. According to reports, Kevin Jr. didn't just inherit property or personal belongings, he was granted control over Tracy's brand and likeness, effectively becoming the guardian of her life's work. Meanwhile, her husband of over 2 decades, Kevin Surratt Sr., ended up with only a few specific items, some bank accounts, a diamond ring, and personal effects. This stark difference in inheritance immediately raised questions. Why would Tracy leave most of her estate to her son instead of splitting it with her husband? And what about the rest of the Braxton sisters, who had stood alongside Tracy in the public eye, especially through the ups and downs of reality TV? Some fans believe Tracy's decision was a poignant message. She wanted the person who truly stood by her side and understood her struggles to steer her legacy moving forward. While that may be the simplest explanation, in a family as layered and complex as the Braxtons, rarely is anything so straightforward. Yet one thing was certain, Kevin Jr. wasn't just inheriting money, he was inheriting an entire storm of family secrets, rumored betrayals, and heavy responsibilities. The will's contents shocked those who assumed Kevin Sr. or the sisters would be the primary beneficiaries. Right away, people started asking if there was more to Tracy's wishes than met the eye. For outsiders looking in, it might have seemed like the Braxton sisters, Tony, Tamar, Trina, Tawanda, and Tracy, were as close as siblings could possibly be. After all, they made music together, appeared on talk shows side by side, and invited cameras into their lives for the reality series Braxton Family Values. But true fans of the show know that beneath the sisterly bond, old resentment simmered for years, particularly in Tracy's case. The trouble began decades ago when Tracy became pregnant at a time the sisters were on the verge of launching their singing group. Instead of receiving unwavering support, Tracy found herself left behind as her sisters pursued their dream. This devastating blow marked the first major rift. Though the family attempted to mend fences over time, the wounds never fully healed. Throughout the reality show's run, Tracy often voiced feeling excluded. There were moments when she tried to share her viewpoint only to be talked over or dismissed. Fans still recall that shocking argument when she sobbed about not being treated equally, pleading for her sisters to see her for who she was, rather than as a perpetual outsider. Whether it was differences in personality or unresolved tensions dating back to her pregnancy, Tracy and her sisters rarely seemed to exist on the same wavelength. Another notorious moment came when Tamar Braxton made comments about Tracy's weight, leaving Tracy visibly hurt. Over multiple seasons, viewers witnessed sisterly fights, forced apologies, and hugs that never quite felt fully sincere. From the outside, it's easy to point fingers and label the Braxton sisters as unkind or unsupportive, but the dynamic was always complicated. Still, the overarching sentiment is that Tracy was never granted the same level of inclusion or respect. In many ways, her decision to leave her sisters with a smaller inheritance, or with none at all, might have been her final statement on how she truly felt. It was one last demonstration of autonomy and self-protection, a chance for her to choose who would safeguard her memory. The tangled web of Tracy's final wishes doesn't end with her siblings. An entirely different layer of drama centers on her husband, Kevin Surratt Sr. On paper, they had been married for decades, raising Kevin Jr. and building a family life. However, rumors of strain between them persisted for years, with fans and insiders whispering about alleged infidelity. Some even went so far as to claim that Kevin Sr.'s betrayal had led to Tracy's deteriorating health. While these more extreme allegations remain unconfirmed, it's clear that Tracy and Kevin Sr. were not always blissfully happy. People close to the couple say that when Tracy's health issues escalated, old resentment surged back to the surface. The rumor mill jumped on any tidbit of information. Some fans argued Kevin Sr. was absent at crucial times. Others believed he was by her side every step of the way, with the sisters refusing to acknowledge his devotion. Things came to a head when Tracy passed away. Kevin Sr. publicly accused the Braxton sisters of disrespecting him, especially regarding her funeral funeral plans. According to him, Tracy had wanted a quiet, intimate remembrance. Instead, the sisters organized public memorial events that he claimed contradicted Tracy's wishes. The Braxtons, meanwhile, insisted Kevin Sr. was the one disregarding Tracy's desires, suggesting that a live-streamed funeral was never what she would have wanted. This back and forth erupted in interviews and social media posts, painting an ugly portrait of a grieving family at war. After decades of marriage, Kevin Sr. found himself facing off not just against the gossip-hungry public, but arguably against the very family he had been part of for so long. Tracy's will, which largely favored Kevin Jr., only seemed to fan the flames. While Kevin Sr. did receive a few items, some saw his smaller share as a direct commentary on how Tracy felt about their partnership in her final days. Speculation remains rampant. Did Tracy exclude him out of fear that he'd mishandle her estate? Was her motive about preserving her legacy through someone she viewed as more trustworthy? Or was it simply an act of maternal love, ensuring her son's security for the future? The truth might be more complicated than anyone outside the immediate family could ever know. If the swirl of inheritance drama and funeral controversies wasn't enough, Kevin Jr. had his own personal upheaval to contend with. At the same time he lost his mother, he was reportedly going through a divorce, a personal struggle that can be emotionally draining even without the weight of grief. For Kevin Jr., these two major life changes collided with devastating force. Beyond the heartbreak of losing a parent, Kevin Jr. now faced the daunting task of fulfilling Tracy's legal instructions. As the appointed personal representative, his responsibilities spanned everything from settling debts to deciding how his mother's likeness would be used in the future. Essentially, he became the caretaker of the Tracy Braxton brand. This new role brought him into conflict not just with his father, but with the rest of the Braxton clan as well. Everyone had their own ideas about how Tracy should be remembered, and Kevin Jr. found himself caught in the middle. Amid all this, Kevin Jr. experienced a terrifying health scare, one that many attributed to the immense stress he was under. A seizure landed him in the hospital, and fans everywhere held their breath, worried that the young man had reached his breaking point. Tony Braxton later commented that the family needed to rally around Kevin Jr. because he was carrying too many burdens on his shoulders. In interviews, Kevin Jr. described feeling deeply honored that his mother entrusted him with her legacy. Nevertheless, that sense of pride was tempered by the sheer weight of an entire family's unresolved issues. One moment he was trying to finalize funeral arrangements. The next, he was tasked with fending off swirling rumors and criticisms, both from the public and from those closest to him. It's a lot for a young man who was already navigating a divorce and processing one of the worst losses anyone can endure. When a family member passes away, it's natural for the survivors to experience friction. But the tension between Kevin Sr. and Kevin Jr. took a very public, very dark turn. Whispers emerged suggesting that Kevin Sr. might have blamed his son for adding undue stress to Tracy's life. A claim that, if true, reveals how grief can push people to say things that defy logic. Some sources indicated a shouting match took place between father and son, where Kevin Jr. allegedly accused his dad of contributing to Tracy's demise through years of relationship turmoil and emotional strain. In response, Kevin Sr. reportedly lashed out, claiming his son was twisting facts to avoid acknowledging his own shortcomings. It's the kind of bitter exchange that often follows heartbreak, guilt, and unresolved resentment. Videos appeared online, leaked by unknown individuals, showing moments of discord. In one clip, Kevin Sr. could be heard insisting that no physical fight occurred, but it was evident that harsh words were exchanged. Meanwhile, Kevin Jr. never outright confirmed or denied the specifics of the argument, leaving fans to piece together a complicated puzzle of grief, heartbreak, and blame. Adding to the turmoil, some fans suspect that Kevin Sr.'s anger isn't just about how Kevin Jr. handled funeral plans or Tracy's illness. They believe it's about money. Tracy's decision to grant Kevin Jr. the bulk of her estate effectively sidelined her husband from key financial and legacy decisions. For someone who was married to Tracy for over 25 years, being left out of that final chapter could feel like a betrayal. Yet from another perspective, any hostility directed at Kevin Jr. might come off as greed at best or cruelty at worst, given the unimaginable heartbreak he's already endured. Regardless of where you stand, it's evident that father and son are deeply hurt and not communicating in a healthy way. Tracy was said to be the glue that kept them from drifting apart. Without her, the cracks are widening at an alarming rate, and it doesn't look like either side is ready to extend an olive branch. As if the tension between Kevin Sr. and Kevin Jr. weren't enough, the Braxton sisters found themselves under scrutiny for how they handled Tracy's final days and her subsequent memorials. Toni Braxton, often seen as the family's de facto spokesperson, commented that the sisters tried to honor Tracy's wishes privately, but that other forces, implying Kevin Sr., complicated those plans. The funeral itself became a point of major contention. Some accounts suggest Tracy never wanted a large funeral, preferring a more intimate farewell or even direct cremation without fanfare. Yet certain events were live-streamed, drawing in fans, media, and critics alike. To add another dimension to the narrative, rumors arose that the sisters barely included Kevin Sr. in the decision-making process. Social media quickly became a battlefield of accusations and defenses. While many fans praised the Braxton sisters for celebrating Tracy's life, others questioned whether the memorial events were more about public attention and brand building. Tamar Braxton found herself in the crosshairs, with people accusing her of using the tragedy to stay in the spotlight, an accusation she strongly denied. All of this public grieving made for compelling headlines, but behind it were very real family dynamics. For years, the Braxtons built their brand on a mixture of sisterly unity and fiery disagreements. Yet this time, the stakes were painfully higher. They weren't just feuding over a record deal or a personal slight, they were divided over the memory of a sister they'd lost too soon and the legacy she left behind. In the face of such tragedy, fans hoped to see a united front. Instead, they witnessed fractured alliances and conflicting accounts of what Tracy would have truly wanted. The combined frustration, sadness, and confusion fueled countless theories. Perhaps the sisters believed Kevin Sr. misrepresented Tracy's final requests, or maybe they felt forced out of the planning process altogether. No matter the cause, the result was clear. Tracy's passing did not heal old wounds, it exposed them for the world to see. Step back from the headlines and you realize that what's unfolding is more than a simple inheritance squabble. It's the story of a talented family that found fame and fortune, but never fully resolved the emotional baggage they carried into the spotlight. The Braxton brand rests on the foundation of extraordinary musical ability and a compelling family dynamic, but that same dynamic seems to be in jeopardy without Tracy's calming presence. Kevin Jr. stands at the center of this storm. He not only has to manage his grief, but also fulfill legal duties that put him at odds with relatives who have their own visions of how Tracy should be remembered. Kevin Sr. remains convinced that he loved Tracy the most, and that the sisters are cutting him out. Meanwhile, the sisters stand together, even as they face accusations that they rarely championed Tracy during her lifetime, only to spotlight her memory now. Some fans of Braxton family values say they saw this coming. They note that every season revealed new fractures, with Tracy often feeling left out or misunderstood. Others argue that the show dramatized mild family spats for the sake of ratings, never fully capturing the nuance of real-life relationships. Amid the chaos, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that Tracy Braxton was a singer, a mother, a sister, and a woman who faced her share of hardships. If she intended to protect her son by leaving him the bulk of her estate, it could have been an act of maternal love that simultaneously sent a pointed message to everyone else. I know who truly has my back. When news of Tracy Braxton's will first broke, nobody could have predicted the firestorm that followed. The siblings clashed publicly. Kevin Sr. and Kevin Jr. squared off in accusations and heartbreak. Fans looked on, torn between sympathizing with a grieving family and wondering if aspects of the mourning were more spectacle than sincerity. Yet through all of the finger-pointing and tears, one truth emerges. Tracy's final wishes placed her son squarely at the heart of her legacy. Whether you see that as a sign of unwavering love, a response to feeling sidelined by her sisters for decades, or both, it's a testament to how carefully she weighed her family's dynamics before making that decision. As we reflect on the twists and turns of this story, it begs the question, does tragedy truly bring families together, or does it simply magnify the fractures that were already there? For the Braxtons, it seems to have done both, uniting them in grief even while intensifying the divisions beneath the surface. What do you think about Tracy Braxton's choice to leave so much to Kevin Jr.? Was it a final stand for her personal autonomy, or a practical step to ensure her legacy's future? We'd love to hear your thoughts below. Thank you for joining us here at Buzzed Celebs at Buzzed Celebs, where we dig deep into the stories behind the headlines. If you found this exploration of the Braxton family's complicated journey intriguing, remember to subscribe, drop a comment, and give us a thumbs up. Your support helps us uncover even more celebrity news and inside scoops. Until next time, take care, and keep questioning the stories beyond the spotlight.